Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
Please, if you do, call me by my name. I don't know why. People can call me Lauren, they can call me whatever name, but if they say Laura, it just makes my blood curdle.
Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. AG1 is offering my listeners a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/juicebox to get this offer. Are you an adult living with type 1 or the caregiver of someone who is, and a U.S. resident? If you are, I'd love it if you would go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and take the survey. When you complete that survey, your answers are used to move type 1 diabetes research of all kinds. So if you'd like to help with type 1 research, but don't have time to go to a doctor or an investigation, and you want to do something right there from your sofa, this is the way. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. It should not take you more than about 10 minutes. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes and their MiniMed 780G system, designed to help ease the burden of diabetes management. Imagine fewer worries about missed boluses or miscalculated carbs, thanks to meal detection technology and automatic correction doses. Learn more and get started today at medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365, the 1-year wear CGM. That's one insertion a year. That's it. And here's a little bonus for you. How about there's no limit on how many friends and family you can share your data with the Eversense Now app. No limits. Eversense.
Wait, I have one request.
That was awesome. You did that as soon as I hit record. Go ahead. What's your request?
Please, if you do, call me by my name. I don't know why. People can call me Lauren, they can call me whatever name, but if they say Laura, it just makes my blood curdle. So if you could possibly say Laura instead of Laura, that would be amazing.
Well, this is being recorded, if you don't mind. And I want to dig into this because the two names you just said sounded exactly the same to me. So
No, they're not the same.
Give me the proper pronunciation.
Well, okay. So I recognize that you can say it both ways, but when people say Laura, like it sounds like Laura, it feels like you're like gagging, at least to me. But when you say Laura, it just is like so much smoother and prettier. Laura just sounds, and no offense to anyone that goes by Laura, but I do not like it at all.
Listen, I think I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to mimic it back in a second to make sure I do. But I just want to tell you that when you speed up and say them concurrently, they sound exactly the same. So like
we can agree to disagree because I do not feel the same.
No, you're obviously hearing it one way, and I want to do it. And I think I've got this. So I think there's Lore, Lore, and there's Lar, and you like Laura.
Yes.
But if I said Lara, you would hate that.
Yeah.
Lara.
Yes.
Now, how about Laura?
That's good.
Yeah. See, I don't hear me saying it any different.
It's like when the sound after the L is more of an A versus an O. Mm-hmm. That's what I don't like.
Okay. So not Laura, Laura.
Yes. There you go. You can hear the difference now?
I want to be clear. I can hear the difference, but when you say it, I don't hear the difference.
Okay. As long as you can hear the difference, that's fine. That's all that matters.
But do your imitation of both of them again, but don't tell me which one you're going to do.
Just say them both?
Yeah, in any order.
Laura.
Yeah, that almost sounds exactly the same.
Okay.
Right. What I hope is that people listening, every time you say something that they either agree or disagree with as they're listening for the next hour, they say out loud to themselves, oh, Cue Lara.
Oh no, I regret saying it.
That's going to be awesome. All right. You're Laura. I got it.
Yes.
Like
yes.
from the TV show with the girl and her daughter, Lorelai. Like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I got it. Yeah, I don't know what the TV show is called, but.
Oh gosh, I don't either. I've never watched it.
No, I sometimes
Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, sometimes I say stuff like that to hook people and they're like yelling now. They're like, it's Gilmore Girls, you idiot. And I go, oh, yeah.
That's one show I couldn't get on.
Oh, way to like really drive a wedge early.
I know.
Laura.
I'm starting to regret it.
Yeah, right now, I mean, I think, probably heavy 60-40 women listen to this.
I know.
And
I think all of my friends in college love that show.
Yeah, and I'm saying right now they're like, oh, Lara doesn't like Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. I don't know if this episode's going to do too well for you, Scott.
No, don't worry. It'll be fine. We'll figure something out here. All right, so let's dig in a little bit. Okay. I was going to ask you to introduce yourself, but I think that part's over now.
I think they got the name down, yes. Hopefully.
Tell me a little bit about your diabetes.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in October of 2023, like 4 days after my 24th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, I've only been diagnosed a little over a year, like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It was very unexpected. I have no diabetes in my family, anything like that. My husband and I had actually just moved cities right after he graduated, so I got a new job. I'm a nurse, work in the hospital, got a new job, started training. It was a very, very stressful environment. Kind of one of those things where it's like, I love the adrenaline, but my body didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that around Labor Day. I got sick. It wasn't really like anything crazy. I had a really bad headache and a runny nose for a couple of days. That came and went, kept working. And then I started getting like super, super thirsty. Bought myself a new water bottle. I was like, this is great. We're drinking water. We're going to be hydrated.
Telling myself I'm going to drink more water. This is awesome. Finally happening. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Started doing that. Started peeing more, obviously. Then I was like, man, I really can't see the monitors in my patients' rooms from the nurse's station. And driving home from work was really hard. And I was like, man, my eyes are really, really bad. So I made an appointment for the eye doctor. I went to the eye doctor. And he was like, I was telling him everything that happened. Like, yeah, my vision just got really bad over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks. And he's like, have you checked your sugars lately? And I was like, no. And up until that point, I was like my husband and I were talking about trying to get pregnant. So I was like, ooh, maybe I'm pregnant. Like, I'm not sleeping well. Like, I'm breaking out all around my face, like all these different hormonal changes. So I was like, kind of like trying to convince myself of something otherwise.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no, I haven't checked my sugars. That just like kind of got me thinking in that direction. My mom actually had a glucometer because she's a health nut. She's like, yeah, just take my glucometer, take your sugar. It was 256. So I was like, that's not great.
Your mom that doesn't have diabetes is like, here, take my glucometer.
Yes.
Gotcha. It's awesome.
So, and we were never a family that really went, like I never had a primary care. I maybe went to the doctor like twice as a kid. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, let me find a primary care doctor. Found one pretty holistic. I didn't want her to like throw a bunch of meds at me if it wasn't what I was thinking, whatever. Walked in, they had taken my sugar, taken my urine, all of that. I walked in and she goes, oh, honey, you're a diabetic. Didn't introduce herself, didn't say anything, didn't even look up from her computer. And I was like, thanks.
Wait, all of this happened before you could give her the big Lara conversation?
Yeah. 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 So I was like, oh, that's great. Thanks for just like changing my entire life and not even like introducing yourself at all.
And this is like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah. It was pretty traumatic. That now that I'm realizing that now. I think I tried to convince myself that it wasn't. And now I'm kind of coming to that realization.
Yeah. So maybe things have settled in a little bit. And now you're looking more at maybe the mental aspects of all this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, it's, I don't know, a mode where you're just trying to exist and continue. And
yeah. Damage control mode.
Yeah. So, well, okay. How long had you been married when this happened? Today's episode is sponsored by a long-term CGM that's going to help you to stay on top of your glucose readings, the Eversense 365. I'm talking, of course, about the world's first and only CGM that lasts for 1 year. 1 year, one CGM. Are you tired of those other CGMs? The ones that give you all those problems that you didn't expect, knocking them off, false alerts, not lasting as long as they're supposed to. If you're tired of those constant frustrations, use my link, eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more about the Eversense 365. Some of you may be able to experience the Eversense 365 for as low as $199 for a full year. At my link, you'll find those details and can learn about eligibility. eversensecgm.com/juicebox. Check it out. Today's episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, who is making life with diabetes easier with the MiniMed 780G system. The MiniMed 780G automated insulin delivery system anticipates, adjusts, and corrects every 5 minutes. Real-world results show people achieving up to 80% time in range with recommended settings without increasing lows, but of course, individual results may vary. The 780G works around the clock so you can focus on what matters. Have you heard about Medtronic's extended infusion set? It's the first and only infusion set labeled for up to a 7-day wear. This feature is repeatedly asked for, and Medtronic has delivered. 97% of people using the 780G reported that they could manage their diabetes without major disruptions of sleep. They felt more free to eat what they wanted, and they felt less stress with fewer alarms and alerts. You can't beat that. Learn more about how you can spend less time and effort managing your diabetes by visiting medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox.
We had just celebrated our first year anniversary. But we had been together like 7 years before that. So he took it in stride. He was great with it. I think a lot of it came from like a lack of knowledge, but he was great with it.
Lack of knowledge. He's like, this will probably be fine. I think she's got to take more vitamins now.
Yeah.
Actually, I think your first anniversary is supposed to be paper, not diabetes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You messed that all up. So interesting, isn't it? Like you're a nurse who didn't really go to the doctor much.
Yeah. No. And I'm like the first medical professional in my family. Like we are not medical at all. I don't really know where it came from. I think I really like to take care of people. I think that's like I'm a big problem solver. So I like seeing a problem and being able to have a solution and do something about it. So I think that's where that came from. But I'm the first medical professional, and none of my family has really a medical background.
You becoming a nurse is like if I became a ski instructor. Like no one ever talked about or looked at, I don't like the snow. Like, you know what I mean? If I just woke up one day and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? And it's pretty cool. It really is.
Yeah.
You knew coming out of high school?
Yeah, actually. I feel like that's one thing that I've never really wavered on. I'm a pretty indecisive person, but nursing has always, I never changed my major, never thought about really doing anything different. I thought briefly about becoming a teacher, and then I did a kids camp and I was like, yeah, that's not for me at all.
Yeah.
So I really like adults, and I like taking care of older adults. So yeah.
I think I'm going to start a t-shirt line of things people say on the podcast, because I believe I could sell a fair amount of indecisive person t-shirts.
Is that related to diabetes, I wonder?
No, it's not. But you just said I'm a pretty indecisive person. And I thought, I bet you a lot of people would wear that t-shirt that said indecisive person. Oh my gosh. But not indecisive at work, I would imagine.
No, not really. That's a good point. I really thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, because that's pretty cut and dry, the stuff you do at work, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah. Most of it is. A lot of it's critical thinking. So in that sense of the word, you have to think and make decisions. But for the most part, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So how have you found the last 18 months of having type 1 diabetes? What's it been like?
It's been a whirlwind, to be honest. I feel like when I first got diagnosed, I came at it with a lot of background knowledge, a lot of the knowledge coming from type 2 diabetes, because most of my patients, that's what I was exposed to. Mm-hmm. So I think I came at it with a lot of knowledge, but also with a lot of fear, just because obviously, if they're in the hospital and they're a type 2 diabetic, something is going wrong, and a lot of comorbidities, a lot of, neuropathy, retinopathy, toe amputations, things like that. So I think right off the bat, that was the picture that I created in my mind of like, this is going to be me in 40 years. And it started with like, how can I basically arrange my life, learn everything that I can to make it so that it's like I don't have diabetes again.
Yeah.
That was obviously very stressful. Still is very stressful, because I didn't realize that at first. Now I do realize that. And so I'm trying to make that balance of like what is worth the stress and what is not, because stress obviously takes a toll on your body too. So at some point, the stress that you're putting yourself through is actually doing damage to your body. And that's the first reason that you're doing all of this.
Yeah. There's a balance to find for certain.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know, people would bring that up earlier in the pod, like years ago in the podcast. And I think my mind always leaned a little more towards, no, just manage it better and your life will be better. And I believe that, but I also think there's a moment where your management kind of finds a stride.
Yeah.
And you can stop staring at it so hard. You know, like you can still do a good job without being hyper focused.
Yes.
I think that's the place I like when I see people get to, like, you know, they don't look at 160 blood sugar and go like, oh my God, I've screwed everything up, and like, you know, and create a big drama for themselves. But at the same time, they wouldn't look at it and think, oh, I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, to find that middle. And it is really interesting. You started talking. I said, how have you found this time? And I thought, I wonder which way this is going to go, because I have spoken to nurses whose kids or themselves have been diagnosed, and they immediately think, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. I'm a nurse. And then they either A, learn that they didn't really understand much about type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And they kind of freak out and don't know what to do, or they believe that the part they know is the only thing they need to know, and they end up ignoring a lot of stuff. Trust me, there's a lot of stories in between, but those are the two big pathways I've seen in those stories. So I was interested because, you know, you say I have a lot of experience, but then it really is about type 2 diabetes. You don't really have type 1 experience. So yeah. How did you end up picking through what you knew and what you were experiencing?
I think a lot is through the podcast. I learned so much, and I went through the pro tip series, and that helped a ton. A lot of it was like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. Like that, I just hadn't thought about it like that.
Oh.
So I think that was like a huge part of it. And just like trial and error, you know, there's a lot of people that I follow on Instagram now that I see what they do. At that previous job, I had a coworker that had type 1 diabetes, and he was like an awesome sounding board just to like bounce things off of, and like just to be like an emotional support. And that was huge. Yeah, I think trial and error and the podcast probably were the two biggest things.
Laura, do you believe that people listening who've been listening for years miss the old sarcastic me who would have taken that opportunity to take credit for your health? Or do you think they like this new, more mature me who just let you speak?
Well, you just spoke on it, Scott, so I don't know if you've grown that much.
I would have cut you off in the past. I would have been like, oh, I did it. You're welcome.
Oh, okay.
I found myself wondering, I'm like, this podcast has been going on for so long. There are some people who are probably like keyed in, waiting for me to jump in and say something stupid. And then, you know, they're like, oh, where's that? I love that part. Where's that? Or I hated that part. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did not expect you to say that. And, you know, I don't know you, obviously. That's wonderful. I'm glad that it was there and that it helped you. I just, in my personal life, 2 days ago, had someone reach out to me and say, I am on the way to the emergency room with my son. And I just realized, and this person doesn't know me through all of this. They know me differently. And they were like, I just realized who you are. I need help because I think he has diabetes. Because of people like you sharing your story with me, I was able to confidently say, here's a list, listen to these. Here's a list, listen to these. When you're done, let me know. I'll give you some other stuff to listen to. And I felt really, and it's going to sound strange, probably coming from me, but I haven't always felt confident doing that. But, you know, over the years, just hearing person after person say, oh, you know what did it for me? It was Bold Beginnings, or, you know, I can't believe how much like defining diabetes helped me because I didn't realize there were so many buzzwords I didn't understand, like that kind of stuff. It's really lovely to hear. So I'm in a very good place. I'm starting to feel better. I had a surgery last week. I'm 8 days out of having my nose fixed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And this is only the second time I've recorded since I had the surgery.
Well, you sound great. You don't sound stuffed up or anything.
I'm doing my best. I'm doing what I was told to do. I'm following the protocols. I felt really terrible this week. I had a weird reaction to the anesthesia, which I don't, they must have used something that I don't usually get.
Okay.
By the way, isn't it great? You get to an age where you're like, you've had so many anesthesia situations where you're like, I know, like my knee, my toe, my shoulder. Like, I don't usually feel that. Anyway, I don't know. She must have mixed something else in there because I've been like foggy for the last like 5 or 6 days.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get up. I'm like, oh, I feel better today. And then I do something and I'm like, that was all the energy I had for today.
Yeah.
And it made me feel old. I'm going to be honest with you. But this was nice.
Awesome.
You gave me a nice pep. I have a good feeling that I'm not going to fall asleep at noon today.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Or this will end and I'll just be wasted. But
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you've had a whole little thing. Like, now, did you find that during your diagnosis that people assumed and didn't tell you things because you were a nurse?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Literally, no one even taught me how to, like, she never taught me how to give an injection. She never taught me how to take my blood sugar. She literally said, I know you're a nurse, so I'm not going to waste time like teaching you everything.
Would it have been a waste of time?
Honestly, I don't think so. Yeah. Like, I figured it out. Like, I'm here. I didn't die. I figured it out. Just the fact that she did that, like, maybe there was a nurse that didn't know that. Or like, what else are you just assuming when you're taking care of these patients that you're not teaching them? Like, I was in such shock, obviously, that I was like, are you going to like teach me how to do this? Or like, are you going to give me resources or something? Yeah. She prescribed me NPH, which even when she did that, I was like on a sliding scale. I was like, okay.
A year and a half ago?
Yes.
What part of the country are you in?
The Midwest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fine.
She was a very, very old school, like, do things like how I've always done them, not changing based on anything type of doctor. And so she prescribed that to me. And then she was like, I'm going to refer you to an endocrinologist. He'll probably change it. But I was like, NPH on a sliding scale? Like, I even knew that was like not equating.
Do you feel, Laura, Laura, do you feel that you made me, I got self-conscious when I said your name.
No, you did great.
Do you feel like that's the cop out because she doesn't want to be the one to give you insulin?
Probably. Yeah.
She sees you need it, but she doesn't want to be involved.
Well, yeah. And it was just like really frustrating because I just found this doctor. I was like, I don't want a doctor that's going to throw a bunch of meds at me, whatever. She was like, oh, take these vitamins. You need to do like, she was trying to get me to do vaccine, like purging or whatever. And like,
This is the hippie you went to?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Do you still see her?
No, I did not go back to her. I really just went to her because I knew that I was going to need like a referral to an endocrinologist. So I was like, I just need this. And so her main concern wasn't even the diabetes. It was everything else that she thought caused the diabetes. So, and I just can't imagine like coming to her with no medical background and like not being able to advocate for myself or like, okay, no, I'm not going to give this much NPH for like a meal when I'm about to go to bed, like.
So yeah, when you walk in because you have type 1 and someone goes, do you have a diffuser? And
yes.
You're like, listen, I don't want to hear about your essential oils. I need insulin, okay?
Literally, yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not saying that there's no place for that. Sure. There is a place for that, 100%, but not when you are in your 20s and you just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I don't have the mental capacity to be able to retain this information. And the sad thing is that I tried to in that moment. And like, I was like, oh yeah, like maybe I should focus on that. And like, I think it took away from me mentally accepting the diagnosis and like figuring things out maybe a little bit sooner because I was distracted with all this other stuff.
I hear that. Yeah. To me, it feels like you're walking down the street, you're shot in a robbery, you're laying on the ground, clutching your side. The EMTs get there. You're like, oh, this is it. Good. And then the EMT looks down and goes, let's get her chakra aligned.
Yes,
and you're like, no, how about pressure on the wound, my friend?
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, she kind of went in a more of a hippy dippy situation than you were looking for. And again, maybe a couple of weeks later, that would have been a nice conversation.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I hear you. Sure. So you got to that endo. You made it across town, past all the meth heads and everything because you're in the Midwest and everything.
Yeah.
And you were, I'm sure it's not like that.
I know. Anyways, continue.
I mean, listen, if we're gonna
I'm not gonna delve into that.
Oh, it is like that? What are you trying to say? Like, I'm just no. I mean, if we're gonna make fun of Canadians for living in igloos, then we got to bring up the meth heads once in a while when we talk about the Midwest.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Fair enough. But you get to an endo, and what do you like? How do they get you started?
Knowing that the doctor was who she was, she obviously referred me to someone that's going to be like similar to her.
Oh my God! You found a stoned endo?
No.
You got in there and they're like, let's just smoke a little bit, then we'll talk about your diabetes.
Yeah. No. He was just like really, really old. And so he just would not let me get a word out. He just kept talking and talking and talking and talking. Like, he was very nice. You know, you have to go through the steps of finding someone that you actually want. So this is another step, you know, towards the right direction. But he prescribed me Levemir and then the Humalog pens. So
getting closer. Not bad.
Yes. And at that point, I started on the G7. So that was like 3 months after diagnosis.
Yeah, I begged when the person I contacted me, I was like, just make them give you a CGM. Like that, if you don't leave, because by the way, this person was misdiagnosed in the ER, given metformin. Even with me saying, like, through text messages, I'm like, you know, he doesn't have type 2 diabetes. Like, this is type 1. You know, I was able to get them to agree to a GAD antibody test at least. So they'll get their answer a little sooner.
I am very thankful that I didn't have to go through all of that. Like, they tested me right away for all of those things. And so I didn't have to fight my way through that. So I am pretty thankful that it was recognized as type 1.
Yeah. That part's good. So you still see the old guy or no?
No, actually, I'm now on my, third endo.
You switch about every 4 months?
Yeah, literally. Well, my husband and I have moved twice since then. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. And when I saw him, he doesn't do pumps. So like, I saw him for like 6 months. And then I was like, listen, I let him talk. I was like, I feel great. I want a pump. And he was like, okay. So he referred me to someone else, saw them, got on the pump, and then we moved again. And now the endo that is managing me, she is actually my primary care, and she has a kiddo with type 1. So she's managing me as my endo as well. So
you're telling me that when the doctor was faced with I'd like to get an insulin pump request, he referred you to a different physician?
He referred me to a different endocrinologist. Yeah. Because he's so old school that he doesn't do pumps.
Don't you think you find yourself in that situation saying, maybe I shouldn't be helping people with type 1 diabetes if I don't have this level of comfort?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was he manages type 2s a lot.
Yeah,
like, I don't think type mostly. 1 was necessarily his specialty. So I didn't really like ask him about that. I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll do what I need to do to get on a pump.
You know, it brings me right back to something you said earlier. Like, I wonder what else they don't know, like that kind of feeling. I forget what context it was in the conversation. But once you're getting that advice, you have to stop and think like what else isn't being understood here? Like, I don't know anything. I'm counting on this person to know it and say it to me.
Yeah.
What if they don't know as well?
Yeah, like, it makes me sad because obviously I had a lot of background knowledge, but a lot of people don't, you know?
Sure. You know, it's been really valuable for the podcast the last 48 hours for me, speaking to my friend on the phone yesterday and hearing, Laura, it's one thing to have somebody on and retell a story and pick through it. And I think I do a pretty good job of getting through their stories and hearing kind of deep ideas. But to hear someone in the moment going through it, I think you'd all be shocked if I would have recorded the phone call I had yesterday with this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. To say lost is not even the right word.
Yeah.
You know, like somewhere between scared, sad, overwhelmed, freaked out, undereducated, dizzy, doesn't know what's happening, doesn't understand half the things that are being said to them, probably won't remember them tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does feel like one of those war movies where like a bomb goes off next to somebody and then somebody's yelling at them, like, you got to get up. And, and they're just like, I can't, like, all my senses have been shut off.
Yeah. It's literal, just like chaos control at that moment.
Really something, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would think that would be too intimate and I wouldn't ask anybody to do that. But I genuinely think it would be eye-opening for people to listen to someone going through it in the moment.
It would probably bring up a lot of their own emotions too.
No, yeah, because you're hiding so much from yourself while you're talking about it.
Yeah.
I noticed yesterday that I had to be incredibly careful about the things that were said and weren't said. And to me, it's common sense, but I also heard a lot of it on the podcast over the years, talking to people like, I can't believe my doctor said that to me on that day. Like, and so I knew things not to say. It wasn't lost on me that she had those questions. They were in the back of her head. Is my kid going to die sooner? Is this going to ruin their life? Like, is that like that kind of stuff? And, you know, so I said more broad things like, hey, my daughter's 20. She's in college. She's had diabetes for 18 years. She's fine. You wouldn't know she has diabetes if you looked at her. You know, she has other autoimmune issues too. We manage them. I was honest. I said, like, don't get me wrong. Like, this isn't going to be a picnic or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's very, very doable. And then I shared with her that I thought that some of the most resilient, like well-balanced people that I know have type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully that helps her, but.
Yeah, 100%. I think it did.
I hope so. What pump did you get?
I got the Omnipod 5.
Oh, awesome. How are you liking it?
I love it. It's great.
You know, it's funny because I half expected you to be like, oh, like I'm real active and then not active in my week. But it's working well for you. Yeah,
I definitely have, qualms with it. I'm actually in manual mode because I started on the G7 and going back to the G6 kind of felt like a step back to me. So, and I'm a control freak, so I like to have control. So I think that comes with its challenges. It definitely requires a lot more effort from me. For the most part, I really like it.
I'm going to say something that people are going to be like, oh, Scott doesn't know everything about diabetes. It's constantly happening, but I'm okay letting you know that that's true. Omnipod 5 doesn't work with G7 yet?
It does. It does. Oh. So when I got on it, it wasn't compatible at all. Then in between that time and then coming out and being compatible with it, they came out with the app on your iPhone. Yeah. So I was like, oh, like, praise the Lord, I don't have to carry around 2 phones. So that was like a big thing for me. And then they came out with that it's compatible with the G7, but only with the controller. So I was like, I'm not going from carrying one phone around back to carrying 2 phones around just to be in auto mode. Right. Because I already have, I have pretty good control. So I was like, I'm willing to wait until they come out with the compatibility on the app. Okay, that makes sense. And I'll tell you, like, it's been a while now, but when Omnipod 5 first came out, we had it pretty quickly. And Arden was like, I don't understand why do I have to switch what I'm doing? Like, I like what I'm doing. It works. Yeah. And I said, well, just try this because, you know, I think there could be a lot of value here. And it was working great, but the tripping point ended up being for her exactly what you just said. She's like, I am not carrying 2 devices with me. And so she switched back to looping at the time. Yeah. Now she's using Trio, but it was exactly it. So when the functionality comes to your phone, you'll go into auto mode. I will definitely try it 100%. And then I'll see like what the control is like and probably go from there. I have thought about looping, but I haven't really done anything more than just think about it. Yeah. I mean, you're pretty early into all of this. You've come a long way in a short time. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. You feel that? That I've come a long way, or that I'm like just into the... Well, no, that it's been a short time but from where you started to where you are now, like I would imagine you don't recognize yourself from the first 3 months. You know what I mean? Like you seem very confident and understanding of what's happening to you, I guess is what I'm saying. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. Do you? Because you have an older voice, but you're younger. Do you know that? Yes, a lot of people tell me that. Yeah. I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than me. And when we were younger, mostly they thought we were twins. And then they would say that I was the older one. Yeah. I'm trying to like balance. It's hard for me because like my son, you and my son are the same age, right? Actually, he just turned 25, but you're basically the same age. He's very bright, very capable, thoughtful person. But there's still times when you talk to him like, oh, I forgot he's in his mid-20s. Yes. Yeah. And you're tricking me because you're a nurse and your voice is a little deeper. Yeah. And you feel in your 30s to me. And then, so every once in a while I say something, I go, oh, she might not know. She's only 24. Yeah, no, that's very possible. That is, yes. Yeah. I can definitely get on board with that. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, you know, people who are 24 are like, oh, don't, you know, maybe they're upset by that. But you'll see, you'll get older and you'll look back on yourself at 24 and go, oh, yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing in all aspects of everything. Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So is the baby making on the back burner now? Yeah, we have a lot going on. We're just busy. My husband's in grad school and he's a graduate assistant coach for the basketball team that he played for while he was in college. So he's kind of busy with that. I've changed jobs so often. I've only been at this job like for 5 months, and we moved back last April and we're redoing our kitchen, and it's definitely a thought 100%, but not like a forethought. It's not at the forefront of our thinking right now. Do you want Scotty's opinion? Sure.
It's okay to wait a little bit.
Yes, I agree with that. But also with all of the health issues and everything, and like not knowing if we're going to easily get pregnant or if it's not going to be so easy, and like thinking about them growing up and getting older, whatever, I kind of want to start that process sooner rather than later. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there's no right answer. There's pluses and minuses to both sides of it.
100%.
My kid's 25 and I'm 53. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That part's great.
Yeah.
You know, like that I'm not like 65 right now is, you know, it's attractive. Like I like that. We were always very young parents in like my son's like age group. So I went to school functions and baseball games, and the other parents were always 10 years older than me. Like always. And for that, I like that we got started earlier, that part of it. But the other side of it is that like my wife and I didn't really get to like hang out as much by ourselves, like because we were married, and then a couple years later we had Cole.
Yeah, but now that they're older, and now you guys have time to do that, right?
Yeah, but it's different. Now we've been together for 30 years.
How's it different?
Well, how's it different? Need me to tell you, Laura?
Do you still love each other and want to go on
That's all. Yeah. That's all nice. But like when you're like 55, you like don't pull over in an alley to have sex, but you do when you're 23. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
My point is that like there's a loss somewhere. Like we lost something on one side to get something on the other side, which is just how everything works. But I'm just saying I don't know how to quantify the other side of it. I like being younger now that my kids are older. I think that's great. I don't know how much I would have enjoyed not having a kid till I was 30. Yeah. Because I might have liked those 7 years too.
So if you were to redo it, would you do it the same way?
I mean, how the should I know? I only know the one way. I like the way it worked out. Yeah. But I also could have used with a couple of more liaisons like next to a dumpster. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, not next to a dumpster, but
I'm following.
Yeah. I have to tell you, that's probably my line. I don't think I would do it up against a dumpster is what I'm saying.
Yeah, probably not. That's not very sanitary.
No, not very sanitary at all. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to tell you. You could have them now and be like, oh my God, I'm young. I shouldn't be doing this. It's, because I'm going to tell you, having a kid, it's all encompassing.
Oh yeah, your entire life changes.
Yeah, that's an understatement that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Like, everything is different. I still I'll get done recording here and I'll walk out and someone will be like, is anyone hungry? Which is still code for like, Dad, you should make some eggs or something. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I am hungry. And then I find myself cooking for 3 people in the middle of the day. And I'm like, I don't think that I should be doing this.
But also, Scott, okay, listening to you, and obviously I only know you from the podcast, and like how you took Arden's diagnosis and made it your entire life, I feel like you might actually love that, and that's your calling. Yeah,
but that's fair. But I'm never going to stop wondering what I should be doing, what else I could be doing with this time. Like, does that make sense to you?
No, that makes total sense. Yeah.
I think I'm a very focused, caregiver person. And I make this podcast. And then other than that, I sometimes drive to the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's not all that your life is.
No, that's most of my life. So we went on vacation last year for the first time in a decade.
Yeah, and aren't you I don't know if you already did this, or I should probably know. Aren't you organizing an entire cruise? Yes,
me and 100 of the listeners are going on a cruise in June. That's going to be awesome. But that's also a work thing.
Yeah.
I think my point is that I started with kids so early, and I'm still involved now because they're still younger. I don't mean this in a whiny way. I really don't know myself not as a parent at all. Right. And so I went from growing up poorly to meeting a girl who had problems, of her own, to us getting together and becoming a unit, to us making a baby and being parents.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to I don't know who Scott is without kids. And I'll tell you, the other day, my wife had to go away for business. And somehow my wife had to go away for business. My son went away with his girlfriend, and Arden went away for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this one day I was here completely by myself. And I'm just going to completely do a 180. I started off that day. I was like, this is it. I am an adult. I have cash. I own a home. What is going to happen today? And then by like 11 o'clock, I was doing dishes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder when everyone's coming home. This sucks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. You probably just, do regular banging and it'll happen and you'll probably be fine.
Well, and I think part of it is that all of my friends, not all of them, a lot of them, and just people I follow on Instagram from college and whatnot are having kids. And the same thing happened like before I got married. I was like, oh, everyone around me is getting married. I want to get married. And now everyone around me is having kids. And so I want to have kids. But it's like, would I have been fine if we would have waited a year or two to get married? Probably. Mm-hmm. But it's those feelings of like, I
understand.
I want a lot of comparison, I guess.
I didn't feel that growing up, like trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, but is that like, I'm going to say, I always feel like people are going to be like, he's so old or whatever. But like, is that a girl thing, do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. And just with social media, it's the whole basis of it is comparison. And so it's our natural tendency just to compare and want what other people want. So yeah, I think it is a girl. It is a girl thing.
Yeah, I don't look at other people and think like, oh, I wish I had what they had.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a very interesting point that you made just there. I don't know what's behind that, but I would agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people are like, it's not a girl, boy, it's just you. And it's very possible. I don't covet thy neighbor that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That made me laugh to the point where I now have to blow my nose. I'm sorry, but give me a second.
Oh gosh, please be careful.
Don't worry. The blood stopped days ago. I'm good.
Okay. I heard like a faint sound in the background. I was like, wait, was that him blowing his
I did a very I'm only allowed to blow my nose lightly. And if I sneeze, and God knows I didn't know this was possible till the guy told me, you have to open your mouth and sneeze through your mouth.
I didn't know that was possible either.
Well, I've done it 3 times this week.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still pretty super sore.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Things are pretty sore. So, but anyway, that's not the point of any of this, is it? Let's get back to the things I was saying that people will be mad about.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I have things, I guess, so I maybe don't. How do I put this? I'm at a point in my life where within reason, I could go buy something that I wanted. And you know what I go buy?
What?
Nothing. I worked my whole life to get to a point where I could be comfortable saying, I'm going to spend $200. And now I don't want anything.
Is that because you already have things that like take up space in your mind? Like when you talk about that, it makes me think of my dad. My dad retired in May of last year. Mm-hmm. And all talking up to it, he was like super nervous about not being fulfilled or not knowing what to do to fill his time. And he actually like didn't retire for a few years because he was so afraid of that. He was afraid of being bored out of his mind, not knowing what to do, whatever. And then the second that he retired, he has loved it. He has never found himself bored. He's like enjoying himself the most he's ever enjoyed himself. He's happy. He's stress-free. He's sleeping good, losing weight, everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like when I think about your case, it's like you might not discover that about yourself until you have to, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I agree with you. That wasn't my exact point, but we can do both things. My point is that there's nothing that I want. I spent my whole life getting in a position where I could get things if I wanted them. And then I got to the position where that was reasonable. And now I don't want anything. It's just it's very disappointing. Like, I thought I'd get to there and I'd be like, all right, like I'm going to buy something now. And then I just like, I don't really care.
But think about if you didn't have your kids or if you didn't have your wife or the podcast, what would you spend your time doing?
Oh, I would get up in the morning. I would probably take a nice warm soak. I'd probably go for a walk, have an egg. I think I'd spend a couple of hours tending to like my chameleons and the plants that like the vivariums they live in and stuff like that. And then I don't know. I'd make this podcast still. So I almost have the podcast in a place where it can be part of my life forever without it killing me. Mm-hmm. So I build it up to a place where it's popular. And there's still a lot of work that goes into keeping it there. Like, because social media is terrible. Like, the way, I mean, anything's terrible. Like, if you opened a candy shop in your town, you'd have to work hard to, keep it going for 20 years. But like, so there's always going to be that part of it. keeping it in people's consciousness, making it something that people still want, need, desire, like can use, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the big pressure around that, it's over. I climbed a mountain now. Like I'm up there. Like now, what's left is it's a game of king of the mountain now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I made it up there. Now I have to stop other people from trying to knock me off, which happens.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous. I hear it as I'm saying how ridiculous it sounds, but that's happening constantly. Right? There are other people out there that want you to hear their content, and I suck the air out of that vacuum.
Yeah.
So like they'll spend a fair amount of time trying to discredit me or push me around or say things behind my back or go to advertisers and bitch. Like there's a lot of that goes on. I wish it wasn't true, but it's a really dirty space, like no different than any other space, honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got up there. I think I sucked the air out. And so I exist a bit in a vacuum and they're trying to break in. So there's time I have to spend with that. There's time I have to spend managing the online community stuff, which is generally wonderful, but periodically I swear to, oh my God. And, right now it's the political climate and everyone's ranting and raving about what they think is being taken from them. And and I have a little more long view of things. I'm like, look, I don't not think you shouldn't be out there, swinging hands for yourself and everything. But like some of the things they're worried about, I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like you're going to wake up 3 months from now and realize that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
The way I think of it is like, we can't run around like everything is a fire. Like we got to wait till there's actually a fire, and right now everybody's acting like everything that's said is a disaster. And I'm like, and then the problem is that when you try to come down the middle and look at that, then people think they know my politics, which I guarantee you is not true.
Yeah.
Right. So my moderating self is different than my personal self. Anyway, that stuff's a bit of a thing.
But that's not even like what you want the space to be for, and people turn it into that, and then you have to navigate away from that.
Right. Like I come in, I go like, this is a community for people with diabetes. We're not here to talk about your political concerns.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, that impacts my diabetes. And to that, I would tell them that's wonderful. And you're probably not wrong, but that's not what this space is for.
Yeah.
Like you might be hungry while you're at church, but you can't bring your grill in and start cooking while the preacher's talking. There's a thing going on here. We're doing a specific thing. It's for this.
Yeah.
If you want to go talk about that, go start your own thing or find a place where people are talking about that. I think that's wonderful. I honestly, I genuinely do think that's wonderful, but that's not what this is for.
Exactly.
Like, right. Like this is a place where somebody comes in and says, I don't know how to bolus for my food. I'm all over the place with my diabetes. I'm having, some sort of psychological struggles. I don't need those people getting there and seeing 11 people screaming about Dr. Fauci, because whether those 11 people are right or wrong doesn't matter. It all looks crazy.
Yeah.
And so like, I want people to be comfortable. I want it to be an oasis for them.
Yes, for sure.
Anyway, so that part, it's not that much work. It's just frustrating. Back to your initial idea. Like if I was retired, I could still be retired, but make the podcast, but not be working so hard.
Yeah.
I was speaking with a media consultant recently, and they said, like, what's your goal here? And I said, 10 more years. I'd like to make it for 10 more years. And in those 10 years, behind the scenes, I want to try to find a way to automate it so that people can have it in the future when I'm not making it anymore. Like those are my goals for it.
Yeah.
And I said, because if I have to still work 10 years from now in my mid 60s, I don't know, I'm going to be pissed. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I think the truth is that I know people say you're not what you do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like, people are like, well, you can't live your life being your work. But to some degree, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. And I don't want to get religious, but for me, my work is not like my purpose. And I think a lot of people who make that their purpose, when they're done with it, they feel lost.
Yeah, because it's gone then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I don't think the podcast is my purpose. I do find fulfillment from it. And there is something, and you have this too, right? Like, isn't there something cool when somebody walks out better off than when you met them?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right? That seems better to me than some of the other things I've done in my life for money.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, in the end, I think the honest truth is if I didn't have my family, I'd be bored. And I do think
And that's awesome. I think that's great.
And I do think I'd get sad eventually if like everybody was just not here.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of how it should be.
Yeah, I guess so. But maybe I can make one of those late in life families. Like,
what?
Like a lady down the street and I have a kid together and no one knows about it. And then I can start over again. No?
Maybe not.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, you can do what you want, but I would recommend against that.
Some sad 32-year-old lady who's like been divorced 3 times and she's just like, he's nice. This is good. But I'm
oh my goodness.
And I'm like, but I'm 60. And she goes, doesn't matter. I'm lonely. And like, you know, and then it turns into like a TV show. It'd be awesome.
I think that's maybe when you should get like a cat or a dog.
Oh my God, I have a dog. The worst. Is this the time where no, I'm not going to have that conversation yet. Never mind.
Okay. We have a dog.
So do I. Don't worry. So, great dog. Love the dog. Not saying otherwise.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What have we learned here? Like, let's look back over this. First, by the way, did we go over any of the things you meant to come on for?
I didn't really have a goal of coming on here. I feel like maybe I was looking at it as a source of therapy for me.
Let's see what you said. Lack of education around type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Isolation around diagnosis. You felt isolated?
Yeah.
Because how's that possible? You're in the medical field.
Because no one, other than that one coworker, no one has type 1 diabetes. No one talks about it. Before I got diagnosed, I had a horrible understanding of it. And so now I have this brand new perspective and I don't really have anyone to share it with, at least not online. I do, but not in person. And it feels very isolating when you try to talk about it and people don't understand the way you want them to.
Okay. Maybe I should start a van tour of the US, right? I could just go to different places and we could all get together and have lunch together and talk.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a lot of time for me, but all right. I'll think about it. But seriously, do you wish you knew more people in person?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's very, very isolating when all the factors that go into diabetes, people, they just don't understand it. Not to say that talking about it with someone who doesn't have type 1 diabetes isn't without purpose, but it's a different kind of feeling versus when you're talking about it with someone who does understand.
Yeah. Trust me, I fight with that too. Like, I realize I don't have diabetes and somehow this podcast is as popular as it is. And I do wonder sometimes, like, does that piss people off? But
I also think having a child with type 1 puts you in that category.
I'm grandfathered in.
Yes, you can be grandfathered in.
I'll take that. I actually saw just today, like somebody online saying, like, I'm so tired of people who don't have diabetes telling me about my disease. That's how they put it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I wonder if that like stretches to me or if I get a pass, actually, is what I thought. So,
yeah. And it gets very isolating. Like a lot of times when I think, oh, I could bring up my type 1, it's like, oh, it's not worth it because they're not going to understand. And so that gets very exhausting too, because it's like, I don't feel like putting in the effort to make them understand. One, because they're not going to unless they have it, which it's not their fault. But also like they just won't understand no matter how I explain it to them. So it feels very defeating.
So you want a connection with other people, but the bridge to getting that connection is too exhausting.
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense. So you need to find somebody who already understands it, so it can kind of go without saying. You can just exist together, and that would be comforting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. Okay. Have you tried doing that with other people, or do you just believe it would be exhausting?
I've done it, obviously, with my husband and with my parents and very, very close friends of mine. But like, I don't talk about it at work. A lot of people don't know that I have it at work, and I'm not very open about it. And I think part of that is what we just talked about. But part of it also is like, I just don't feel like putting in the effort to explain to them.
And that feeling right there that you almost can't put into words, that's the isolation.
Yeah. 100%.
That sucks. Is there a way out of it? Is there other things you can do to fill that void?
I'm trying to become more comfortable with talking about it. And I feel like if I just become more comfortable with it and accept the fact that they're not going to understand, because how can they, like they don't have it. Like I can't understand cancer on the same level that someone else does that has cancer. So it's like, I can't blame them for that. So I think becoming more comfortable just talking about it will in turn make me feel less isolated.
Yeah. What stops you from being comfortable talking about it? Is it the idea that they're not going to get it and you're going to have to go into deep conversation about it? Or is there something else too?
That, and I mean, working in healthcare, people just make jokes about diabetes constantly. And I don't want them to feel like they can't be themselves, or like, I don't want them to think of me differently. Like, I don't know, make jokes. Like I've had coworkers make jokes like, can you really eat that? Or like, go eat a cookie, or like stuff like that. I just don't want to deal with that, to be honest.
Yeah. I hear that.
And so I'm like, oh, it's easier just to not talk about it than.
Is there two sides to that coin? Like, do you not want to impede them from just saying whatever they want to say, but at the same time, you don't also want to be the butt of their joke, or do you not mind that part?
I think I do mind it.
Yeah.
It's not by choice. Like I wish I didn't care, but it's also like, I just don't want them to think of me differently. Like I just want to be the coworker, and I don't want to be the coworker with type 1 diabetes, you know?
You're just Laura.
Yeah. Which I don't like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
I guess you'll find out.
I guess so.
Probably a good thing. You can't go wrong being yourself, but you don't want to hide yourself, and you don't want to spend your time defending against other people's misunderstandings or ignorances either. So what do you do? I don't know. I guess you live and you learn and you adjust.
Yep.
I just realized that on my whiteboard, it says 2024, and we are almost 3 months into 2025. So
nice. We're in that transition period. We're still in February.
You think so? You think this is still okay that I don't realize that the following year has occurred? I just looked up at it. I was like, 2024? What the hell?
That's not right.
What an ineffectual whiteboard I have. It's really not doing anything for me. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should have?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
How was this for you?
It was awesome.
Yeah. Are you nervous still?
No.
Good. You were nervous at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's understandable. I'm very, very famous. Can you imagine how ridiculous that is?
No, it's not ridiculous.
No, it is. It's very ridiculous. Don't stop. Trust me. This is ridiculous.
Okay. All right. You're ridiculous.
Anyone who feels like I'm famous, you're having a weird feeling you shouldn't be having.
Maybe not famous, but like very well known or recognized.
Yeah, any of those things are ridiculous.
Okay, all right. No one knows you.
Trust me, I'm just at the grocery store. That is just me. I go to the grocery store. I come back again. I make the podcast. I go to sleep. In between, I pay some bills sometimes, and I look at a lot of emails. Like, I appreciate that you guys email, but there's so many emails. Just so
You're doing your best.
There's so many. Oh, and the marketing stuff is crazy.
I can't imagine
the insane amount of people who want to be like, they want a piece of it. They want their thing on it. They want to, it's never ending. And like, some of it's cool. Like, I'm all right with some of it, but like, I'm looking at this email right now. Like, what is this?
Can you hire somebody to help you with that?
I mean, if I had money, I guess I could.
Oh,
that'd be awesome.
Well, you said you could buy whatever you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that people, what I've learned is that when you hire people to things, they want to be paid like a really fair wage, which I mean is understandable, but limiting for me in the situation I'm in. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. Like, I'm in a very weird spot. This podcast sits right in the 97th percentile of all podcasts. Like, I mean, every active podcast, I do better than 97% of them by downloads.
That's crazy.
As insane as it sounds, I would never be able to get to the 99th or 100%. Those are like outliers. They're like super famous people. They're like the Kelsey brothers and Joe Rogan and stuff like that, right? Like there's no chance you're getting there. I have an outside chance to get to the 98th percentile. That would actually set me up to be able to do more like that.
Really?
I sit at a precipice.
Wait, so that small change in percentage changes a lot of like your capabilities?
Financially, it would change a lot of capabilities.
Really?
Yeah, but the leap from 97 to 98 is next to impossible. I can't seem to make it.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is why I was talking to a PR professional.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to take a shot at it, like now's the time.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Like, so think of me right now as a really talented college athlete who needs a trainer to get drafted.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at. And
Interesting.
I could stay here forever. This is very, very comfortable. It makes enough money to like that I can do it as my job, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I made that last leap, I would hire a staff to do a number of different things. I'd love to have people doing more community, like not moderation, but just being there, helping people, like their job to be in the community, like answering questions. Cause there's people who do it as, just helpers, which is awesome. But I'd love to be able to take a few of those people and say, hey, listen, I could make this a part-time job for you. Would you be interested in that?
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to compensate my editor better. I'd love to be able to, do a number of things, buy ads that would help the podcast grow. But those things all, like the amount of money like that stuff I just mentioned, just hiring people part-time and paying somebody a little better and buying ads, you're probably talking about a couple of $100,000 a year.
Yeah, that adds up quick.
Yeah. And you're talking about like having more of a business structure behind me to like, now you're paying people and, it's just, it's a whole, like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but that little leap would do that. But that leap it's crazy. Like to get from 97 to 98, I'd probably have to double my listenership.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
It's still a podcast, right? Like, so for everybody who's listening today, who's like, this podcast is awesome. I love it. I'm going to listen to it forever. 9 months from now, they'll be like, I only listen to one a week now. Or I like, and that's fine. And new people come in. It's the expectation of how it works. Right. But I just need one viral moment. And then I could live in that space instead of the space I'm living in.
Yeah.
So, and as crazy as it sounds, COVID probably got me to where I am now.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
But let's not wish another COVID.
Yeah, no. So aside from the fact that I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah.
I just need one of those, like, but that doesn't happen for regular people.
Yeah.
Like using the Kelsey's podcast as an example. I want to say I'm a Philadelphia Eagles lifetime fan. I think Jason Kelsey is like one of my favorite players ever. Their podcast isn't very good. But
I've never listened to it.
Yeah, well, listen, I like them and all, but it's not an hour sit for me.
Yeah.
I love them and I love what they're talking about, and I kind of can't get through it. But they had a moment, right? Travis starts to date Taylor Swift and they leapt.
Yeah.
And now they live in the leap. Right. And so you're famous, something like that can happen. Nothing's going to happen where I'm going to leap like that.
Yeah. Well, not that it's not going to happen. You just don't know what it is.
Well, that's very thoughtful and hopeful of you. I've been making this for 11 years now. You think it could possibly get going?
Yeah. You just said COVID helped you. So you never know what's going to come about.
Well, COVID helped because everybody was at home and they were just like, I don't know what to do. I might as well learn about my diabetes.
Yeah.
And I retained that level, that leap level.
Yeah.
And before that, I was on a constant build. Like the podcast just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and every year. Then COVID happened. And if I'm being honest, I can let the cat out of the bag now. Most people making podcasts, I think initially thought, oh, nobody's in their car anymore. They won't need my podcast. And I thought nobody's got anything to do. They need more podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I doubled down when everybody else laid back.
Yeah.
And so I leapt there. That was nice. And that put me about where I am now. And I get a ton of new listeners all the time. The way the charts work, the charts are mostly like you would think that you chart by download, but you chart by download and by new listeners.
Interesting.
So I'm constantly at the top of my chart because I'm constantly adding new listeners, but I don't add them 2 for 1. So I probably add as many as I eventually lose.
Yeah.
And because for every person who comes on and wants to hear a conversation with you, half of them really just want to hear the pro tip series and then get the out and go back to their lives. You know what I mean? Which is all, listen, it's cool. It's whatever people want is awesome. But I don't have a 3 for 1 transfer. I probably go from like 2 to 1 back to 1 to 1, 2 to 1 back to 1 to 1. And that's what keeps me here, which is awesome. I'm not complaining about that. But it's what stops me from leaping.
What about like interviewing other people in the same area as you, like, but other well-known diabetes influencers.
How does that
Because they
Yeah, but
what?
But I don't want to be cruel, Laura, but I see why they would want me on their thing. But what do I get from them being on my thing?
I mean, they bring a whole other. I mean, not a whole other audience, but they bring other audiences.
They're not talking to many people the way you think they are.
Okay, you know more than me.
Yeah. It's almost back to what you said about like everybody's having a baby.
Yeah,
It feels to you like everybody's having a baby because 7 of your friends put up baby pictures.
yeah,
You can go online and look like one thing, but it not necessarily be exactly what's happening. So there are people who do a good job of looking popular, but they don't actually drive people. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. The way I've put it in the past is that you can dress up a podcast like a storefront window. And when you're walking down the street, it could catch your eye and it could be awesome. And then you open the door and realize there's nothing in here.
Yeah.
But it still looks awesome.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not good at social media, so I don't look awesome. But when you step inside, there's a lot of people in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would end up happening probably is that I would spend a lot of time doing other content that no one would see.
Yeah.
And then I just don't have time for that. Not that I wouldn't like just do it for fun or anything like that. But if you're looking at it like just specifically from numbers, I don't think, as a friend of mine would say, the juice would be worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sucks. I wish they could, but it just also, if you take a longer view of it, over the last 5 years, comedians started a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And they did that thing. We'll all be on each other's podcasts, but all they did was burn out the whole genre.
Really?
Do you listen to 7 different comedians' podcasts?
No, I only listened to one.
Right. Which one?
Armchair Expert.
So is it the one you started with?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he drags a bunch of people in to try to give them some like sunshine, and that doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
It does work for him though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would end up being the guy going on Armchair and not getting anything out of it if I did that.
Yeah.
Nothing works the way you think it does.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah. It's really, really, it's just a lot of work.
So what you're saying is I don't have the answer to all your problems.
No one does. What I'm saying is I don't actually have a problem.
Yeah.
I have a desire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I work towards it, but so far I have not found anything that just springboards you to that next space.
Yeah.
And maybe this is where I belong, which would be awesome. Seriously. I pulled the list up while you were talking, and I am, 20 spaces from the top of my category. And ahead of me are people who are famous, have run for president, and or mostly been on Joe Rogan a number of times. And that's where they got their popularity from.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, so that's how a lot of these people pump up their thing. They get that one-time bump. They get on Rogan somehow, which is not a thing. I'm not saying that's what I'm trying to do or not do. I'm just saying they get on a big thing. They get a ton of new listeners. That leaps them up. And then the fact that their podcast is good keeps them there. To leap again, I would need somebody with a much larger reach than I have. And in this space, that's me. So
what about someone famous that's not in the diabetes space?
why would they want to talk to me?
I don't know, because you are also a well-known podcaster.
Yeah, but what did they get out of it? That's how they're going to look at it.
Yeah, but you, in doing that, you also expose their name to a whole other.
I know that's how it feels, but that's not how it works. Yeah, they're the gatekeepers now. You're not gatekeeping for them. They're gatekeeping for you. And the way you get on one of those shows is to know somebody. I don't have that. And trust me, I've gone that route a number of times. Like I've talked to people who know people and tried to and it's just never it doesn't go anywhere. It's not sexy. I don't have abs. I'm not 25. I'm not pretty. You know what I mean? Like none of that's going to work out for me. Like that's not what they need. Content that keeps their thing strong. They're not looking to help me. If I get helped along the way, they'd be okay with that, but I'd have to help them first. And this is really sad, but this is what this is.
No, so, I mean, that makes sense.
Like people say, oh, you should add video to it. It's not the answer. It's a different, like YouTube views are bullshit. They don't actually do anything. Like you don't think people really sit down and watch hour-long YouTube videos all day, do you?
Some people do.
Yeah, those aren't the people that advertisers are looking for. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
that's the other side of all this, which is I would love to just make the podcast, but I also have like an electric bill and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's true.
Yeah. So like the podcast has to be popular enough for advertisers to want to be on it. That really is 60% of my day.
Wow, that's a lot.
Is making advertisers happy so that I can continue to have a conversation with you about something like this. So you know what the real answer is here?
What?
One of y'all has got to be rich enough, been so bored with your money that you just call me up and say, how much to run this thing for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Let me just write you a check. Then I set it up and we go help people with diabetes and we don't have to worry about advertising anymore. We don't have to worry about social media. We don't have to worry about all that. And then it's just out there for people to use. But that's never going to happen either. So
yeah, I wish I could be that person, but I am not.
I heard your story. It isn't you. So
no, it's not me.
All right. You're awesome. I really do appreciate you doing this. You let me talk a lot today, which is nice because I haven't talked to anybody in like a week. So
there you go. You're welcome.
I got it all out here on you.
Great.
All right. So we're just going to call this Laura's Lore. Right?
I don't know.
Because, you know, yeah, I
I'm
think
not
so.
following.
Well, no. Well, because lore, right? Like stories, stuff that gets passed down to people.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So this could be the lore of Laura. This could be Laura's lore. Laura lore. I'll find something in there.
Yeah, you think on that, Scott.
Shut up. Leave me alone. All right, hold on a second. Thanks for tuning in today, and thanks to Medtronic Diabetes for sponsoring this episode. We've been talking about Medtronic's MiniMed 780G system today, an automated insulin delivery system that helps make diabetes management easier day and night. Whether it's their meal detection technology or the Medtronic extended infusion set, it all comes together to simplify life with diabetes. Go find out more at my link, medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. Are you tired of getting a rash from your CGM adhesive? Give the Eversense 365 a try. Eversense CGM.com/juicebox. Beautiful silicone that they use. It changes every day, keeps it fresh. Not only that, you only have to change the sensor once a year. So, I mean, that's better. Okay, well, here we are at the end of the episode. You're still with me? Thank you. I really do appreciate that. What else could you do for me? Why don't you tell a friend about the show or leave a 5-star review? Maybe you could make sure you're following or subscribed in your podcast app. Go to YouTube and follow me, or Instagram, TikTok. Oh gosh, here's one. Make sure you're following the podcast in the private Facebook group as well as the public Facebook page. You don't want to miss, please. Do you not know about the private group? You have to join the private group. As of this recording, it has 51,000 members in it. They're active, talking about diabetes. Whatever you need to know, there's a conversation happening in there right now. And I'm there all the time. Tag me. I'll say hi. The Diabetes Variables series from the Juicebox Podcast goes over all the little things that affect your diabetes that you might not think about. From travel and exercise to hydration and even trampolines. Juiceboxpodcast.com. Go up in the menu and click on Diabetes Variables. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.